If you are someone that likes to get up early, the topwater action is on fire for trout and in the saltwater and bass in the fresh. Our guides are saying find the bait and the birds and you will find the fish. If you want to know more, then listen up because it's time for the Texas Insider Fishing Report.
Welcome to the Texas Insider Fishing Report. Presented by Yamaha.
You're watching the Texas Insider Fishing Report. We're headed into the depths of summer, which means the fishing is hot, 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 and so are the temps, which means the early birds will be getting the worms, right, Rick?
You're absolutely right, Bree. You know, the thing is, it does get hot, so it depends on what time you want to get out of the bed. You can fish shallow early, but if you stay in the bed too late, you gotta go deep in the afternoon or mid-morning.
Exactly. Depends what kind of person you are, really. Well, Dave Farrell at the workbench is always working his magic over there. So what are we talking about today, Dave?
We're going to be talking about doing nothing.
What?
Dead sticking.
Doing
Throwing
nothing.
it out there, let it sit. It's a way to fish that's really hard for me, but it works. It really does work. So we're going to talk about that. Soaking them. Soaking a soft bait.
Soaking them. Sounds good to me. All right, the GARMIN Middle Coast region is falling in line with the early bird trend, and for good reason. So let's see what the sunrise will bring us. Go ahead, start us off, Bink.
It's been early to fish, early to the dock, pattern to beat the heat lately. Multiple 7 to 8 pound trout have been released while drifting East Matagorda Bay. Find a pile of shelling, about 5 foot of water, soak a shrimp, throw a bass assassin, wait for the cork to get dumped. Raymond Shoals, the pipeline, the log, tripod area, they've all produced even in dingy water. Waders, they release the same size trout while working mid-bay reefs like Half Moon, Three Beacon, and Drill's Lump. The key has been to leave well before sunrise and make your first cast before the first signs of dawn. West Matagorda Bay remains steady. Those grass beds are holding good trout on the incoming tide on bass assassins and mirror lure soft dines and sheep pups. Again, it's an early bite. Get out early. Port O'Connor's been just as hot. Deep reefs in San Antonio Bay, much like East Matagorda Bay, are holding trout along the edges. There's hundreds of reefs in the middle of the bay, and many captains just hop from reef to reef throughout the day. Guide Lynn Smith said he's enjoyed good catches while waiting that incoming tide around Pass Cavallo. Lots of fish have been caught on topwaters as well as those willing to grind in the middle of the day, still catching them on topwater. Spots like City Slickers, the Cedars, the old Coast Guard station, they're holding great fish over sand and grass. Many are hitting the reefs early for trout, then jumping out to the channel as the sun gets up and chasing those triple tail right out there on those buoys as well, right there around Port O'Connor. Then in Rockport, they've been tearing those fish up on mirror lure, those double Ds and bass assassins rigged on Texas jig heads. Guts on the edges of the sand and grass flats are holding most of the trout. Top waters have been solid around Super Flats and Mud Island. Photo there, that's Young White. Solace Bay City held up a nice speck in sand trout while storms were brewing in the backdrop, and there's been plenty of storms brewing in Texas, which make our fish bite pretty dadgum good. We'll go to redfish. Action improved this week. Lots of slot-sized reds have pulled off the shorelines and found refuge in the middle of East Matagorda Bay. The pattern's been to look for the slicks and get behind and drift them. Then you get a big herd, you power pole down, you work that area, fan cast, pull the power pole up, drift some more, hit a couple more, power pole down, and just try to work on those schools. There's lots of slot-sized reds at the Matagorda Jetty. This time of year, there's just wads and wads of big menhaden coming through the Gulf, and those redfish are shadowing on that incoming tide. Same scenarios playing out in Freeport, Surfside, the Port O'Connor Jetty. Don't be surprised if when you're fishing for redfish, those big pogies, that a big trout eats it. Don't be surprised when those big Gulf trout come through in the same locales. They're hardy fighters and they're excellent table fare. And those good surf trout Gulf trout are 2 pounds or better, and there's it's really been good. There's a lot of big shrimp on our beach right now, and all those species are shadowing those big shrimp right now. Offshore kingfish has been better because our shrimp boats, our Gulf shrimp season opened July the 15th, so there's a lot of big shrimp boats out there. And when they're culling, after they pull their nets, they're culling. All those fish get behind them, and it's good. It's a good time to to troll behind those shrimp boats and catch big kingfish. Guide Michael Quebec said the weed lines produce lots of Dorado as well on ballyhoo and deep diving crankbaits. Lots of little chicken dolphins on the weed lines as well. Red snapper continues to be a mainstay. Most captains are getting their limits of red snapper and is still catching those fish up to 20 pounds. Tarpon are beginning to show as rafts of those menhaden come through the pass of the jetty. We really get rolling on our tarpon along the beachfront in August. So it's been another really, really good week on the GARMIN Middle Coast. We ask you to keep taking care of our bays, and please, please release more than you take. And we'll see you next week.
Good advice, Bink. Thank you so much. We're going to go and take a look at the mirror lure hotspots from the Middle Coast region. Bink says that the trout are good at City Slickers near Port O'Connor on a red shad and 10W40 bass assassins, and then redfish are best while drifting the slicks in the middle of East Matagorda Bay.
All right, our large lower fresh region is also trending with some large catches. So let's get with Matt Reed for the details on Fayette County, Choke Canyon, Somerville, Lake Austin, Travis, and Bastrop. Get us excited, Matt.
Let's get this thing going on that lower fresh region. Mike Bates has sent me a report from Choke Canyon. Lake came up another foot this week, which is really good. Any water we can catch in South Texas is a blessing. This added to the shoreline cover. Also, it means it'll take a little longer for the hydrilla to top out. His numbers were down a little this week, but the size has still been really good. It's always fun to catch those big ones. Early in the morning, the topwaters and spinnerbaits have been good, fishing the inside hydrilla line and in the new flooded cover. Cloudy days, that bite will last, on up into the morning. Put the trolling motor down and cover a ton of water because they're scattered with the new cover. Later in the day, get your Texas rig Cinco, get on that outside, some of the grass lines. Also, you want to throw it into the newly flooded willow trees and flooded timber. Lots of good bites that way. Moving on over, Greg Boyk has sent me a report from Fayette County. There's been a hot bite shallow, during and before the storms this week. We've had so many thunderstorms, it seems like it rains every day in this part of the state, not all the way in the valley, but the water levels have come up, which makes that shallow bite really good. Top water around the flooded grass first thing in the morning has been a deal. Pop-Rs and buzz frogs have been the preferred baits. The deep fish have been really consistent later in the day. You want a half-ounce shaky head with a green pumpkin candy or a tilapia color plastic on it has been really good. Also, Carolina rigs with the same baits or a creature-style bait out in that 15 to 20 foot of water. Lake Somerville, the bass have been biting fair. Active early in the mornings again on top water poppers around the rocky banks. A little later, move out to the brush piles, catch them on a wacky rig stick bait or light Texas rigs, and even the 3/8 or half-ounce jigs have been working best in those brush piles. Green pumpkin, black and blue, and June bug have been the preferred colors. Brian Cotter sent me some reports from out of the Austin area. Lake Austin is fishing decent right now with some good ones being caught. Most of them are being caught skipping jigs and wacky rig worms up under the docks in that shade. In summer, the shade is always key around those docks. Also, he's caught some big ones on a big crankbait bait out in front of those deeper docks. The best bite there has been at night lately. A lot of those docks have lights on them. That's the key docks. Throw you a crankbait or a jig and spoon in those lights out in front of those docks, and that'll key a bunch of big bites. Lake Travis, the schoolies are still schooling in the marinas. Catch them on Texas rigs and jigs out deep later in the day. Some of those fish are even out in 40 or 50 feet of water. Again, night has been very important around the lighted docks. He's throwing crankbaits and jerkbaits around those lights to get his most bites. Lake Bastrop, fishing well. Look for the schooling bass out in front of the north end of the dam. You can throw small top waters around those to get a ton of bites. Also, a small jerkbait or crankbait will get you bit. Got 2 bass pictures there from Mike Bates at Choke Canyon. One of them is Mike himself, and the other one is one of his young customers with both of them big old fish.
Yeah, those
Big
are
old fish.
some beautiful trees to fish back there in the backdrop. Looks good, bub. Tell us about the white bass and the hybrids.
Yeah, Drake Boy, Angler's Angle, that's a tough one. Sent me a report from Lake Somerville. The hybrids and white bass are doing really well on live shiners and shad. Fish just off the bottom, kind of like on a Carolina rig, just free lining or what you'd free line something in the saltwater around Welsh Park. Also, you catch them on slab spoons and trolling a little pet spoon behind a deep diving crankbait off the main lake points has been working really well also.
All right, bud. Well, thank you for keeping us going here. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the Fiber Tech hotspots from the lower fresh region. Fayette County lake bass have been very cooperative. Topwater early around the shallow grass and reeds have been good. Later, throw a heavy shaky head or a Carolina rig in 15 to 20 feet of water on the points and the road beds to have a fun day.
Those bass are so consistent sidewise. Every week we've got just a big old fish.
I know it. I know it.
Except for you.
I know.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's okay.
Keeping you humble, man.
Yep.
The STARTRON Middle Fresh region is flexing its fish fighting muscles coming up, but first, Dave has some flexing of his own to do at the workbench for rigs and techniques. Flex, Dave.
I have to flex almost to pick up this giant worm. These things are fat. That's why it's called a fat job.
All right.
There you go.
I can do curls with this thing.
Keep going, Dave.
That's it.
That's about it.
That's it. That's all I can do.
5, 6,
all I
5,
got.
7.
Done.
That's all I got.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Fenwick. Bahio. Fresh eyes for a rich life. Garmin. Plot your paradise. FiberTex. Leaders in fiberglass fabrication and repair. Sportsman's Adventures. Fishing for adventure. Penn. Let the battle begin. And Skeeter Performance Fishing Boats. Eat, sleep, fish.
Yamaha's reputation for saltwater reliability is driven by the 4.2-liter V6 Offshore's 97% reliability and overall performance. Reimagined with new advantages like built-in digital electric steering for incredible responsiveness and exhaust rerouting for more powerful reverse thrust. The legacy of the reliable Yamaha 4.2-liter V6 continues, now more refined and capable than ever. Yamaha, reliability starts here.
Are you tired of fighting foul odors in your car? The easy-to-use Auto Odor Eliminator from Starbright uses the power of chlorine dioxide to eliminate even the worst smells. From cigarettes and pets to fast food and sweaty kids, this EPA-registered chlorine dioxide technology fights the odor-causing bacteria, the source of the stink. Don't just cover it up. Eliminate it with the Auto Odor Eliminator from Starbright.
For the Bay and beyond, team up with the best and rule the Bay in a Skeeter. Built for big water or running the flats, Skeeter has a Bay boat designed for you. Prove it with 20 consecutive NMMA Consumer Satisfaction Awards. Versatility, control, performance, and design. Visit your local dealer or online at SkeeterBoats.com. Skeeter, it's more than a boat, it's a lifestyle.
Have you ever felt your heart pounding while feeling the power of a tarpon in the Florida Keys? Or experienced the changing colors of a mahi as you bring it on board? Whether it's in the Bahamas, the Florida Keys, Guatemala, or the Florida Everglades, Murphy's Law Sports Fishing has the ability to guide you to the fish of a lifetime. To book your trip today, call 305-246-0673 or go to murphyslawsportfishing.com.
You know, we certainly talk about rigs here at the bench, but techniques are what gets the job done. And, you know, Dave, we're talking about a job tonight.
Yes, we are.
You
We're
liked
talking
that
about,
intro, didn't
yeah,
you?
I did, yeah.
A little play on words
Yeah.
like Ricky Dicky.
Yeah, we're talking about dead sticking, you know, and a lot of people are familiar with it, especially when it gets cold. They think, you know, lethargic fish, the bait's not moving. It's a good time to use it. And it is. It is a good time. But you can use it all the time. believe it or not. There's a lot of different situations where the dead sticking, just leaving the bait alone once you cast it, works good for you. And right now is a good time. When it gets really, really hot, or if you're fishing in really, really clear water, or you're fishing in a place that gets pounded all the time, a lot of pressure on it all the time, those are all good times to try this out, especially if you're not getting them bit on stuff that's moving all the time.
Right.
Me and my brother, just this 4th of July, we were fishing up in the Panhandle, and it was really hot, 4th of July, fishing in a lake behind my parents' house. It gets hammered all the time, and we were having a hard time getting a bite, and my brother said, hey man, we're going to try to do some dead sticking, and he did, and we started getting bites. And pretty much what you want to do when you're doing this is you want to throw these baits into places where you're pretty sure that there's a fish sitting there, up against the bank, you know, between a log and a bank, and you know, just places where a cover that's sticking out from the bank, maybe a tree or a point or anything, that a stump, the base of a stump, someplace where you think, I'm figuring there might be one there. And this is what you want to do. You want to cast one of these Cincos or one of the other baits. So you cast a Cinco. This is normally what you use, one of these big fat jobs from Bass Assassin, and let that sucker just sit. You watch your line the whole time it's sinking. You don't want to do it with a pure slack line. You want to be able to, you know, hold your line up a little bit so you can see as the bait sinks. And you watch your bait as it sinks, because sometimes you'll see it tick, and then it'll just take off. And that's pretty much what you're going to find out once the bait hits the bottom, and you let it sit there and without moving it for 10 seconds, 15 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds, just letting it sit there, sometimes up to a minute. You just let it just sit there.
Well, the one thing we all forget, and it's a hard thing to do.
It's hard to do it.
I've done it before fishing for redfish that were really pressured.
Mm-hmm.
The key, Dave, and I think this needs to be really, the point needs to be driven home, is that bass has really good eyesight.
Mm-hmm.
He's very smart about what he feels with his lateral line.
Right.
And he hears something splash, he looks over there.
Right.
But if they're used to seeing stuff working and jigging and, you know, all the craziness.
Well, what happens is there's a book called Knowing Bass by Keith Jones, and he was a PhD in fish, and so he discovered that bass do one of two things. When something hits the water, they'll usually scurry away a little bit and turn around and see what fell. Mm-hmm. Or they'll just be a reaction strike a lot of times when it's sinking. But most of the time, when that bait or something hits the water, splashes against the top of the water, their first instinct is to run off and turn around and look and watch. And dead things don't move. A dead worm, a dead minnow, any of these things that are dead, they don't move. And when they come and fall on the bottom, they don't expect them to move. And the bass, he's expecting that thing to sit still. Because guess what? Even a live bait, you see a little minnow or a little brim, and he gets the attention of a bass, what's the first thing he does? He freezes.
Yeah, he plays possum.
He doesn't move. You know, if he raises his dorsal fin, boom, he gets nailed a lot of times. So,
and that's the common reaction.
Right. So when these things are just sitting there not moving at all, you know, they elicit a strike a lot of times. You know, the fish will come up and they'll nail it, you know. And you can, like I said, we've got several different rigs here. If you're fishing in a place where there's a lot of stuff, weeds and stuff to get hung up on, you might want to try the Texas rig. You know, just put the
using it with
just a regular worm hook like that Pro Worm over there in a straight line. You know, make sure that it runs straight.
I gotcha.
Yeah, a little Pro Line 4/0 just like that, and just let it sit. You know, this is going to sit like this more than likely. It'll sit up there like that and just sit there. But even with you sitting in a canoe or in a little boat, the wave action, the wind action, and you just holding on to it, it's gonna wiggle just a little tiny bit. And all the things down here are just like that. If you want to, you know, if you don't want to use a Cinco worm, you can use a sea shad or a fluke or something with a little tiny tail that'll just
with no weight. This thing just goes down and, you know, because it's got...
It looks like a spiraling dead little fish, and then it sits on the bottom, and you just let it sit there. And the crawdads work as well, a crawl imitator, something like that.
Skunk ape.
Because, again, a crawdad, you know, when it sees a bass or something, it hugs the bottom and doesn't move. And that's a Nico rig, skunk, a mini skunk ape right there.
No, this is
the little tapper. That's what it was, a little tapper. And this is with a rig Nico style with a little weight in the nose, so
So it goes down.
It'll go straight
and then
down.
Sits like this on the bottom.
Correct. Yeah, and that's a good thing to trigger a bite. So try it. It worked for us the other day.
Hey, go slow and give it a go, right, Brie?
It drives me crazy, man, but
Patience
it works.
is the name of the game right there. All right, Toledo Bend and Sam Rayburn are the stars of the show this week in the STARTRON Middle Fresh region. So let's see how and where Matt Loescher has us fishing them. Talk to us, Matt.
All right, Bree. Well, I'm going to kind of play into what Dave was just talking about there. It's actually, it's that time of the year where the fish have been really heavily pressured for a while, and they've gotten a little wiser than they were a few months ago and that kind of thing, so we got to start changing up our tactics a little bit. I'm going to start this week talking about the largemouth bass on Toledo Bend. There are more fish feeding now in that 10 to 15 foot range. They're not generating as much current through the dam now, and so a lot of those bait fish kind of move shallow when that happens. And you may even see some schooling activity on the surface at times right now. However, the best way to catch them consistently has been a finesse worm. Even though those fish are running around chasing, bait and whatnot, that bass assassin little tapper is a killer, because those fish are swimming around in schools chasing bait fish, but there's always a spot that's like home base for them. So if you can figure out where that spot is, and it's usually not too hard, if you just kind of sit back and watch and use your electronics a little bit, you can tell where those fish keep returning to. And if you'll just hop that little tapper worm around on that home base spot, they will keep returning to you and you'll do well. So just keep that in mind. Don't overthink it. Don't get too busy chasing them around, because you'll just kind of spook them. You're better off just sitting back and doing just like what Dave was talking about. Just dead stick that thing and try different presentations, drag it, hop it, whatever, but just keep it on that same spot. Now over at Sam Rayburn, still got some high water over there, so it's a little bit different. They're about 5 foot over pool level still, and there's still a ton of fish up shallow, like around the trees and the bushes. So this is where that skunk ape is really going to shine, and it's more of a flipping pitching presentation right now. This time of the year, I prefer to leave the tails together on that skunk ape for more of a bait fish profile rather than a crawfish profile, because they're usually kind of chasing the shad and the bluegill. And the regular size, the bigger one, and the smaller size skunk ape are both good for this. Generally speaking, though, the smaller one will get you a few more bites, but there is some truth to that old saying, big bait, big fish. So if you are looking for those bigger bass, use that full-size skunk ape. I would opt for the bluegill imitation. Green pumpkin is going to be my go-to color for this, because it mimics the shad and the bluegill both very well. It's just a natural color. And if you want to use that bigger one and maybe dip the tails in chartreuse to look like those bluegill, it matches them really good, and it's always a good way to get bit. Now, swapping over to Lake Fairfield, another great lake to be fishing right now because of the grass that's available for the fish to hide in the shade. Anytime you have good grass in the lake this time of the year, it makes for some fun fishing. And I like to use a real simple approach when fishing. If it's cloudy or windy, they will probably eat a swim bait or a topwater presentation. However, if it's calm and bright, then a worm fished on the edge of the grass, or punching that skunk ape right into the middle of the mats where the bass are going to be lurking in the shade, ready to prey on an easy meal. Just drop it right in there on their nose, you can catch them that way. Now, swapping over to the crappie, Sam Rayburn and Toledo Bend are both still giving up plenty of them. At Sam Rayburn, that 147 bridge on the pilings there is always a good place to find them. And then also out on the standing timber along the creek channels and the point, and about 20 to 35 foot is good too. Over here at Toledo Bend, we're still catching the crappie in 20 to 30 foot range along the channels and the vertical drops with standing timber. And the best bite continues to come on that Panfish Assassin Tiny Shad and the Pumpkin Seed Shad color. Now, the Monkey Milk color has been producing some fish too, but they're really liking that Pumpkin Seed Shad this year. Now, just like last week, I mentioned that painfully slow fall of the jig is really key. So a 32nd ounce jig head is the ticket right now. Numbers have been decent lately, but the size of the fish that we're catching has been really good. If you'll just let that Panfish Assassin jig sink super slow right onto the top of their head, and then they'll jump all over it. You'll catch some really nice ones. I got a photo here for you of the Harper family with a table full of some nice crappie. And you can see there we caught some big slabs that day, including we had one over 2 pounds that day. So definitely a good time to go catch the big one. Now swapping over last but not least, the old slimy ones, but everybody loves them, the good old catfish. they've been biting really well in about 15 to 20 foot of water on Toledo Bend. You know, it's really amazing how many of those catfish are out there. You can literally drop a minnow or a piece of cut bait down to the bottom almost anywhere and catch one. They make for some great table fare as well. So if you want to load a cooler with them, now's a great time to do it. And if you want to up your odds even more, you can go out before you're ready to fish and bait up a spot with things like cotton seed cake, or some people use dog food, stuff like that, just to kind of chum up the area and then return a day or so later and load the boat.
All right, Bud, thank you. Great report. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots from the STARTRON Middle Fresh region. The largemouth bass are in 10 to 15 feet of water biting worms and skunk apes. Crappie are in 15 to 30 feet biting jigs and minnows. And those catfish, they are near the bottom in 15 to 20 feet.
Well, Rick, it is about time that we give this pretty little thing in our garage over here some love.
Okay.
And this is your weekly reminder that if you would like a chance to win this pretty little thing, 1952 Chevy 3100 Hot Rod, all you have to do is purchase raffle tickets at ccaflorida.org/hot rod. I've already bought mine.
You did?
You don't need to buy yours. It's already yours. All right, we're headed to the coast of somewhere beautiful. You are giving it away, and I don't know why. Somewhere beautiful in the ALVEY Reels lower and FISHBITES upper coast regions coming right up. And to keep up with everything fishing in Texas, make sure to head on over to our website, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and to see new fishing adventures, along with reports, subscribe to our YouTube channel, Captain Rick Murphy. See you soon.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Contender Boats, always in the game. Bass Assassin and Saltwater Assassin, the best lures, period. ALVEY Reels, a better way to fish. Berkeley, your fish, our science. Murphy's Law Sport Fishing. Book your trip today at murphyslawsportfishing.com. And Penn, let the battle begin.
The Yamaha VMAX V6 SHO continues to deliver the level of performance that pro bass and multi-species anglers demand. Underneath a bold and aggressive new look, an upgraded charging system with 40% more charging power meets the amped-up demand for today's advanced electronics. The VMAX SHO, raw power, reliability, and exhilarating performance for every angler who loves the sport enough to invest in the best. Yamaha, reliability starts here.
For more than 20 years, anglers everywhere have come to know one thing, that nothing says no to fish bites. We are the Fish Bites Nation, and this is your invitation. So grab some fish bites and get busy casting, because you can't join the nation without doing the catching. Ask for Fish Bites or Fish Bites Fight Club lures, or visit fishbites.com.
Today's power pole tip is about the travel strap. Now, a month or so ago, I was traveling down to Flamingo, which is a 50-mile drive. Now, normally I don't travel with my power on, but because I had purchased some stuff and had it in my live well, I had to have the aeration system on. Thus, now I have a power pole situations that are active. Now, I carry my remote inside the seat. Something bounced up on the remote, deploying my power poles. So you can imagine 50 miles later in the down position, my spikes when I got down to the boat ramp at Flamingo were only about this long. If I would have had the travel strap at that time, we wouldn't have had any problem. It really works very, very well. It works on all the power pole models, and it's really simple on how you put it on. We're gonna simply go around like so. I like to bring it right here by one of the bolts here. We're gonna pull the Velcro tight and strap, pull it on there tight. Now, this keeps my power pole from deploying even if the power is on or if there's some problem with the switch because of something laying on top of it. So if you have any questions about the travel strap, it's $14.99, or we'll actually make you a deal and sell you 2 for 30 bucks. So go to powerpole.com, and that's today's Power Pole tip. So you know, Brie, that strap really has saved me since, because
I bet.
you know, when you're bouncing up and down the road, for sure, there's things that land on your remote. And so unless you put your remotes in certain places that you know that's not gonna happen, it's really crucial to make sure that you have a strap on there.
Yeah, and I mean, it's such a simple little thing that will make a huge difference.
Man. You know, and think about it, I'll sell you 2 for 30.
2 for 30.
Or what? 1 for $14.99.
Wow, that sounds good
What
to me.
a deal.
What a deal. The ALVEY Reels Lower Coast region, specifically Port Aransas and Mansfield jetties, are looking pretty promising for your weekend bite. So let's get Captain Chad Kinney on the line to find out a lot more. Get our weekend vibes on, Chad.
You're talking about that correct. The jetties and everything else are good. We're going to talk about the trout bite. Trout bites in a land cut coming down off of drop-offs and guts is good. Redfish action is definitely Port Aransas jetties, Port Mansfield jetties. There's plenty of slot reds and some oversized redfish there. So going with the trout there, if you head south from Corpus Christi, Baffin Bay, of course, to the land cut, there's good size and numbers of trout are being caught. Live croaker working really, really well. Free line right now with a 5 to 7 knot tail hook. Eagle Fall makes a great one there. Depending on the size of bait, size it up with that. Soft plastics are actually working really, really good also. Saltwater sass is my favorite color. I've been saying it for a long time. It's that magic grass, the sea shad. Works really good. You got to work these edges of the drop-offs, and especially the grass lines. These edges are also around the oil guts that kind of go inside the land cut there, so make sure you can power pull down, utilize that, and work those edges and produce a really good number of trout. Make sure when you're using the soft plastics and even your live bait to cast out in those deeper water and drop-offs, make sure you work that bait, let it sink down, and slowly retrieve it on up. You're not in a flat there, so you don't have to do a fast retrieve. Works really good if you get a slow retrieve going. Redfish, they're holding at the Aransas jetties again, Port Mansfield jetties. These better weather conditions helps a whole bunch of get out there, and if you're in a shallow sport boat, anything else makes it a lot better for fishing. So look for your washouts, get your GARMIN sonar out, and look for your deeper washouts right there. The eddies will form around those rocks. Look for that. Definitely fish those deeper holes with some cut menhaden and pitch a bigger live croaker on the Carolina rig in the deeper holes up against close to the rocks. Lots of times that's where the smaller slot redfish are going to be at if you're targeting those guys. If you're fishing out deeper, you're going to be catching some of the bigger redfish. Also look for some of those bigger the bait fish moving around the jetties to see what the reds are targeting. A lot of times you're going to be like smaller finger mullet moving through there, and it'll give you a good idea what to size up on the bait. A great setup for this fishing is a medium rod, about 6'9", what I like using, 6'9" to 7 or so, with an ALVEY 100 spooled up with diamond braid 30-pound. I use that with a Momoe fluorocarbon 60-pound shock leader. It works great. This stuff isn't bulky. You can handle it really easy. You can cast all day long. You can handle some really big reds. Got a picture here of Eric Sauls with a release of an oversized redfish on an SCB shallow sport off the Mansfield jetty there. Moving to offshore, shrimping season has started out, which is awesome. It's going to help you target a whole bunch of stuff like kingfish, blackfin tuna, around the shrimp boats, out shallow and deeper. So if you're targeting some kingfish, it's a lot of fun there. So if you target those, my best bet is if you go to like 60 to 150 foot range, try to get there early before they're pulled in nets. You can control some mirror lure divers while they're dragging. Control these things about 5.5, 6.5 knots, and make sure you use a wire leader course on this. When they're pulling the nets and they start culling in that area, then go ahead and pin on some ribbon fish, rigged up also with a wire leader, and that works great. When you're trolling them, as far as tackle wise, 10 torque 30 is working really good, or a 16 wide. If you're pitching some baits or casting into them, stuff like that, use a bigger spinning reel like an ALVEY. Has several sizes to choose from. And the ribbon fish, when you cast it out there towards the back of the boat, if they're anchoring and stuff like that, let it free fall. Keep feeding the line. When you get a strike, just let it go, 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 go. And as soon as you feel it go, about 10 seconds, 5 seconds, just set the hook and be on. As far as blackfin tuna, they haven't been real thick, but they're starting to really show up, and this is a good time of season. It's going to get hot from here till October, since the shrimp boats have started. Those guys, I like looking for 150 foot to 250 foot out deeper. While the boats are dragging, pull some smaller islander lures by the boats. Bring them up for some smaller ballyhoo, or just troll them completely naked. Works out good. Troll these baits at around 7.5 to 8.5 knots. And once the boat's on anchor and they're cleaning their nets, and you go ahead and switch to an ALVEY spinning reel and set up with a vertical jig of your choice, and then hit that water column and pick up some good tuna while you're at that.
All right, thank you so much, Chad. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the shallow sport boats. Hot spots for the lower coast region. Chad says Port Aransas, Port Mansfield jetties are holding good numbers of redfish with the better weather conditions. And then offshore, the trout fishing is good, and the land cut shrimping season has started now, which means plenty of action for the kingfish and the blackfin tunas.
And us.
Yeah, and he was talking about trolling naked. I love trolling naked. Just saying.
Okay. It's smoking hot in the Fish Bites Upper Coast region with Captain Carl Weston, and I'm not just talking about the weather or him trolling naked. Carl, tell us what we'll be getting into.
Carl trolls naked all the time, too. We talked about it.
Okay.
Right, Carl?
Talk to us, Carl.
I'm not sure how to follow.
Just start your report. I'm speechless. Go for it.
But, guys, Rick and Brie, it's great to talk to you again this week. And, we're catching some really big trout now up around Sabine Pass. There are a bunch of really large schools of shad that are gathering out on the beachfront. They're running in the jetties, all the way inside up on the oyster reefs. We've seen them all the way back in the grassy flats back there. The redfish are pushing their tailing up in the flats. So this is a time of year where topwater becomes a blast. You can get these guys up there tailing in the morning and evening. It's a lot of excitement. Watch these things knock your lure out of the water. And so anyways, like I'm saying, this is a time to target it. So you're really going to want to use a shad or a live finger mullet right now with them chasing all this live bait. Try it on a popping cork. Now, if you're just dead set on the artificial lures, I know a lot of the guys on the natural side, they love it. The Chopo 90 and the 110 in that bone, I know I've repeated this 50 times, and I'm sorry, but there's just, that lure is amazing. The fish just kill it. So today we got a picture of Mandy with a nice trout. And bouncing on over to redfish. The redfish, as we push over west towards Galveston Bay and over to Trinity Bay, where the water is heating up, and man, the bite is really heating up too. Once again, like you said, guys, this time of year in the Upper Coast, the fish are on fire. There are a bunch of big schools, and these are slot size that are pushing, like I said, out front on the surf, back on the oyster reefs. They're just the fish are everywhere. So anyways, I know it's a little bit of a combo. Sorry, guys, I'm throwing it together. But so we've been throwing mirror lure in the Mirrodine in the shad color or white color. This is definitely triggering some great action. And we have a picture of Manny again. He got double duty today with a really nice redfish out front.
Nice. Cool picture, dude. All right, let's go offshore.
All right, well, let's talk about red snapper. You know, the season is coming closer to an end, unfortunately, but this great weather is it's just prime time to go offshore right now and catch your red snapper if you haven't. You know, these guys are top table fare. We are catching our limits pretty quickly now. Getting out there, the water temp's up, the bait's good, it's clearing up. We had all that rain early in the year, and we're still having some, but it's backing off. We're getting some good blue water in the 150 foot range, and these fish are they're eating it up. They're in there tight. You know, we're catching some really big fish still. Most bottom structure in our area is holding good red snapper. The larger fish have been out in, say, 100 plus foot of water now, but that doesn't mean you're not catching nice fish inside in, say, the 50 foot range on the rigs. And fishing these depths, if you upsize your bait, you'll actually you have to cull through some of the smaller fish. But if you upsize your bait and your leaders, you will catch bigger fish in there. Say we're using a 6-aught trocar on about 3 foot of diamond, Mamoy, old slip leader like we've been using all year with an 8-ounce sinker, and we've been tearing them up, guys. Picture today of about a 31-inch red snapper caught in some pretty shallow water.
Nice. All right, one to go. What you got?
Well, moving over to lane snapper. This is something we don't catch a whole lot of, and just wanted to touch on it today. So lane snapper is a smaller cousin of the red snapper. These are really beautiful fish. They have yellow stripes that run from the nose to the tail, really distinctive when you catch them. And we prominently catch these things on tighter structure, Rick. Like they've thrown out road pipe, trash piles off the old oil platforms when they built them or tore them down. And in this tight structure, these fish like to hide in the little holes and the little pockets. And this is where we seem to catch them. Out on the bigger open structure like rock piles, I hardly ever catch any. But if you're in those tight areas, like I say, these artificial reefs that Texas has set up with these reef balls and the pipes, if you catch a fish in there, even if it's by accident, don't run off and leave. Downsize a little bit, downsize your hook, downsize your leader a little bit. And these guys, the other day I had caught a few, and I rolled up a piece of the shrimp bites, the easy shrimp.
Yeah, the fish bites.
I caught shrimp. Like four fish on one piece. So don't be afraid to try that.
Well, that's the cool part about it is, Carl, that it doesn't fall off. They can't peck it off, you know, because of the mesh that's part of the manufacturing. They put that scented gel on there. But that's really cool that you're using that for catching those little snappers.
Yeah, it's great. I think we have a picture of one today also that we caught recently. It was actually pretty good size for a lane.
Yeah, man. I don't know about you, but that's some really good eating as well. So that's a big lane snapper. Appreciate all your tips this week. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the R&R tackle hotspots from the Upper Coast region. He says inshore, the redfish in the grassy shorelines and in the surf throwing a Mirror-Lure Mirrodine in the shad color. And then offshore, red snappers in 50 feet of water using a slip rig with a 6.0 trocar hook, Diamond Man oil leader, and an 8-ounce egg sinker.
Well, Rick, Bahio sunglasses are definitely the trend out there on the water this summer, and all you have to do to win a pair is enter in the hashtag #MyBahio Contest. Share a photo or video of your favorite fishing paradise and tag and follow hashtag #MyBahio and @Bahio Sunglasses. If your fishing spot is chosen, you'll win a free pair of shades and other Bahio gear. And you know what? One winner will be chosen every Friday, all summer long, which means we have half the summer to go.
That's right.
So half the summer long to go.
That's right.
You could win.
That's
All
right.
right, stay hooked, Texans. We're seeing what the Upper Fresh region holds in store for us. And Dave Farrell is bringing in the new products at the workbench. Anything good, Dave?
Oh, yes. We got a really cool new ALVEY stealth reel. It's very light and casts a long way.
And makes you super stealth.
Yes, it does.
Okay, we'll be back.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Ameritrail. Load, launch, relax. Fenwick. Turn on the bite anytime. Tie on a Mirror-Lure. Diamond Fishing Products. Our reputation is on the line. R&R Tackle. From our tackle box to yours. Berkeley. Your fish, our science. And STARTRON. Cures and prevents ethanol fuel problems.
An entirely new species of extreme predator is moving offshore. The Yamaha 5.6-liter V8 XTO offshore outboard. Extreme big block thrust and power in the industry's first direct injection 4-stroke. Quiet, efficient, powerful, and proven Yamaha reliability. More than an outboard, it's a fully integrated power system. The all-new Yamaha V8 XTO offshore.
with over 100 years of heritage. ALVEY sidecast reels allow you to cast over 150 yards with up to 900 yards of capacity. ALVEY's state-of-the-art drag and 22-inch retrieve rate per wind is perfect for any surf challenge. ALVEY reels are manufactured to best practice standards and are in fact so robust that the ALVEY also comes with a 10-year salt and sand warranty. For more information, go to alveus.com.
Well, we're here at the bench, and we're going to talk about some cool new products.
Yes, sir.
And it seems like tonight everything's going to be long.
Got some long stuff. Yep, correct. First thing we're going to start with is the Taco Marine outriggers there. Those are the 24-foot carbon fiber. Obviously, you can see there they come in a pair.
Yes.
But we're going to focus on the one there.
They lock in.
Yep. The reason they can make these are the longest outriggers that Taco Marine has made. And they can do that because they're made out of the carbon fiber. It's really stiff. If they tried to do that, make them this long with aluminum, they would have too much bend in them and would whip around, and you could end up breaking them or bending them. But with the carbon fiber, it's so stiff, that's not a problem. And these things fold all the way down to 9 feet. They have a really cool locking system where you don't have to look for the pin or anything. It's where it's supposed to be all the time. You put it all the way out and then give it a twist and you'll find the hole. There's no looking for the hole. All these outriggers fit into the GS 450 and the 500 XL mounts and the 500 mounts. They have a twist and lock butt design on the far end. And they also have these really cool collars on here, these 360-degree halyard collars that are built in. It's a 3-way halyard, and it spins all the way around. So once you get the outrigger in place, everything hangs perfectly straight up and down, so it's not spinning around everywhere. It's got a UV resistant clear coat on it, stainless steel hardware and rings all the way through it, and the adjustable line rollers, which are really cool.
They are cool.
Yeah.
I really like them, Dave.
They're very nice.
We use them on the Contender, and they work very, very well.
Yeah, they're very nice. I have several friends who would love to have those for sure.
Well, they can call TacoMarine.com.
They can go to TacoMarine.com and get them, can't they?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I love the fact that they, can
fold down,
and then when you're going down the road, you don't have them sticking out so far when you're back in your garage or your
Come in a nice
barn.
little case to put them in as well.
All right, so let's talk about the ALVEY.
All right, next we got the ALVEY, the Stealth 65S, the reel there. It's a true game changer with the ALVEY reels. They can cast a long way. That thing is bulletproof. It's got a lot of titanium components. It's got a grade 5 titanium spindle inside that whole reel rotates on, which is a CNC machined friction tube. So it's really high tolerances. They're incredibly light. It's made out of some of the strongest, lightest materials that there are. It's got the carbon fiber on the handle plate.
Right.
A really nice drag system right there.
10-year warranty against
10-year
salt and sand.
salt and sand. You can throw that thing in the sand and salt. A lot of guys, they'll see a picture of a guy with his reel laying on the sand next to a fish, and all the comments will be, "Oh, I can't believe you put the reel in the sand." You don't have to worry about it with that one. Just rinse it off at the end of the day. Also, they've got a brand new rod that they designed for that reel.
Unbelievable.
It's the Stealth. It's the Stealth R65, and it's the most technologically advanced rod that ALVEY has ever made.
Two-piece.
Yeah, it's a 2-piece. It throws 15 to 30-pound test line. It's got Fuji guides on it, specially designed for long casting in the surf. It's made out of graphite and carbon composite, and it's newly designed reel seat.
Mm-hmm.
You can also tell it's got the ALVEY long cast guide way up the front there because that thing spins around and it's a huge thing. So it's made perfect. It's a perfect combo, incredibly light, cast 100 yards, easy without even trying. They say
Easy.
150. You can probably
with
do
a
that.
4-ounce weight, I know I
Exactly.
throw over 150.
Exactly.
Tell us about the hooks, quick.
Next, we got the Eagle Claw, Octopus, TKHP, and the TKHR. These are great for using for live or dead baits. They got the patented trocar sharpening technology, go in 50% easier. These are the heavy wire edition, and what this does is it gives you a heavy wire alternative to the laser sharps,
Right.
which are already fine needlepoint hooks.
Right.
But these are just a little bulkier, heavier, come in 13 different sizes from a little 1 all the way up to a 19.0 and red and black chrome finish.
All right.
All
You
right.
did good.
All right.
We'll get to that next week.
Yeah, we'll get this next week.
All right. Bree, where are we headed?
All right, in the upper fresh region, Tawakoni and Lake Fork is where it's at this weekend. So let's get with Johnny Geist and see how he can improve our landing odds. Go for it, Johnny.
Hello, Rick and Bree. Well, we're going to talk about the stripers over on Tawakoni first. Old guide friend Matt Cartwright, he is reporting that fishing is good on Tawakoni as he's ever seen it on, call it Twak. As right now he's saying that something's coming from a guy. When he says that, he puts his clients on limits fish every day. He prefers to use artificial baits, but right now he knows where to go catch those gizzard shads so customers can catch these big stripers and hybrids, and plenty of them. Right now, the live bait is the way to get the big ones in the boat. So the limit on Tawakoni for stripers and hybrids is 5 fish over 18 inches. You can keep 5 of them, or an aggregate of either one, just 5 total. Matt had one of those special days this past week. His party caught and released over 100 big stripers and hybrids, and then finished up the morning filling the 25-person limits of sand bass too. So Matt gets to the lake well before daylight, catches a tank full of 4 to 6 inch gizzard shad using his cast net. Usually has 200 or so shad on board at this time. Rods are rigged and ready to go when the customers step aboard. The shad are usually easy to catch on Tawakoni, but this new forward-looking sonars make catching bait so much easier. I can see bait balls on my GARMIN live scope, and it greatly increases the catch rate when you're throwing a cast net. With good lively bait on board, Matt heads to the south end of Tawakoni, locates these big schools of stripers on his GARMIN live scope. His customers are baited up for the gizzard shad on a Carolina rig using a 1-ounce weight and a 24-inch leader. They drop their lines down to about 20 to 30-foot depths. Schools of stripers are holding there, and that's when the game begins. It doesn't take long for the first bite, and then everyone has one on. Matt says it's not uncommon for everyone to have one over 10 pounds on at the same time. The size of fish mean a hard fight with plenty of drag, pull, and run. So it doesn't take long for for this old big cooter to start filling up with the 5 fish limits of stripers and hybrids. After that morning bite, live bait's over, he moves around, finds huge schools of white bass schooling, changes over to heavy slabs and sassy shad type baits, and customers cast to the surface and fish. So you start reeling immediately when you're fishing for these sandies. When they're up, strikes come quickly. Not uncommon to get numerous strikes on one cast as the fish follows your bait back to the boat. When Matt Cartwright tells me the bite is as good as he's ever seen, I listen because he's seen some spectacular fishing on Tawakoni. Here's a couple of pictures of Matt's customers. Table full of big fish. Look at that young man there looking over all those fish.
Wow. Looking like a stud. Love it.
Give Matt Cartwright a call to book a trip on Tawakoni. Parks and Wildlife stocked over 1 million stripers and hybrids this year, so the fishing's going to be good over there for a long time to come. Next up, the bass on Lake Fork's been a tough bite lately for consistent bass catches. One day you think you got them figured out. Next day it's a grind to get a few bass in a boat. If you just want to catch a few bass, rig up a drop shot rig with a red bug colored 6-inch worm. Use 10-pound line with a small #1 hook and a 3/8-ounce sinker. Fish this rig slow, drag it along the bottom through the brush piles. You usually see a lot of bait fish and small yellow bass on your electronics on the points that are holding the bass. The drop shot's mainly used to catch numbers under the slot fish, but it'll also catch some big ones too. The hardcore big bass anglers right now are using the big shaky heads, Carolina rig 10-inch worms or flukes, and a deep diving crankbait. The big schools of bass are moving around and you have to find them each day. So it's a timing game. You got to know when to hit the deep structure spots, but when you find it, man, the fishing's excellent. Afternoons seem to be the best bite for the bass right now, the big ones at least. Here's a picture of guide friend Brian Dupleshane. He was at the right place at the right time using a drop shot, catches this 11-pound Lake Fork monster this week. We've got a mild July so far, got a good rain today. Expect to see some hot days coming soon, but I hope that bass fishing gets hotter too. So let's go catching on Lake Fork.
Hey, Johnny, quick question for you, though. Those million fingerlings or bass that they release, how long does it take those to grow to where they can be harvested quickly?
Oh, they're going to take about a year or two for them to be, the smaller ones to be hitting that 18-inch. So in 3 years, you got some really good fish starting to show up.
All right, man, thank you so much. We're gonna go ahead and take a look at the hot spots from the upper fresh region. He says Lake Tawakoni is where the catch big stripers and hybrids, the live shad are best for the bigger fish. The slabs and swim baits are best for the sand bass. And then Lake Fork bass is in the summertime pattern. Drop shots and Carolina rigs, plastics are getting the job done.
Yes, I've personally fished Lake Tawakoni, and it was amazing.
It is. And you know, going with Johnny fishing, I fished with him down in the Everglades one time, and he's just a monster of knowledge.
He is.
He really
it's so much
is.
fun.
And a cool dude.
Fun. He really is fun.
Yeah.
So Dave, you know what we need to do is you and I need to go fish with Johnny and leave Brie at home with all these babies.
I'm in. I'm in.
So all these babies.
I'm in. Babies.
I'll be on the coast with Chad Kinney. You guys go there.
No,
all
you're
right.
not.
Thanks for tuning in.
You'll
We'll
be
see you guys
baby
next
patrol.
week.
There'll be nothing going on except
Go catch fish. Bye.